Imagine a nation born not in calm debate, but in rage. A group of people so frustrated with distant rulers that they decided to break almost everything and start anew. The roar of that anger didn't fade with independence. It shaped how this young country's politics, laws, fears, and dreams would unfold for centuries. That's The Pulse Driving Rage in the Republic, a book that invites us to see the American Revolution not as a neatly finished event in a history textbook, but as a living story still unfolding today. Section 1. What was so explosive about 1776? When the colonists stood up to Britain, they were guided by raw emotion, not just logic. They were angry about taxes, power, and justice. But what made their revolution different wasn't the rage alone, it was what they tried to build after. Other revolutions, ancient Greece, France, spiraled into chaos or tyranny. America didn't. Why? This book argues that it's not enough to overthrow a king, you also need a plan to keep people from turning on each other. Turley shows that the founders wrestled with two big dangers: violent anarchy, where everyone tries to grab power, and brutal despotism, where one ruler crushes dissent. Instead of sliding into either extreme, they tried something radical, a republic built on both rights and restraint. Section 2. Two voices that shaped the revolution. Turley brings historical figures to life, especially two very different thinkers. Thomas Paine, the firebrand. Paine loved freedom with all his heart. His writing ignited passions and pulled people toward big ideas about liberation and equality. James Madison, the architect. Madison was more cautious. He wanted freedoms, but he also feared that too much freedom without guardrails could become a threat to itself. So he helped build the system, the Constitution, and later the Bill of Rights, to make sure freedom wouldn't devour itself. Together, they show a classic tension, passion versus structure, and how America tried to balance the two. Section 3. The Constitution, not inevitable, but ingenious. The Declaration of Independence exploded with emotion, freedom, rights, equality, but words alone don't make a functioning nation. The Constitution was the owner's manual that followed, a detailed roadmap aiming to keep a big, diverse republic together. Here's how Turley explains it. The Declaration was the moment of fire. The Constitution was the moment of compass and chart. Where other revolutions spun into terror or dictatorship, America tried to build protective mechanisms, checks and balances, a divided government, protections for minority rights that would let democracy breathe but not choke itself. It wasn't perfect, but it was unusual and uniquely resilient. Section 4. Why other revolutions fell apart. Turley doesn't just talk about America, he compares it with others. Think of the French Revolution, which began with high ideals but quickly slid into terror and bloodshed. Why didn't America follow that path? The answer, Turley offers, America built systems to limit rage without denying rights, while others let rage run wild or allowed power to centralize too much. In those stories, Turley sees lessons. Uncontrolled rage invites chaos. Overbearing power invites tyranny. America's founders, he suggests, tried imperfectly to avoid both. Section 5. The revolution is not finished. Here's the twist of Turley's story. This isn't just a dusty history book. The unfinished in the subtitle is literal. The revolution didn't stop in 1783. It's still going on. Why? Because the same forces that were present then, anger, fear, competing visions of freedom, are still active in modern America. What does freedom mean when robots are replacing jobs, when economic inequality widens, when new technologies challenge privacy and community? These are modern revolutions that require fresh courage and fresh wisdom. Turley believes that America's system, though not perfect, may be uniquely equipped to endure these challenges if we don't forget the lessons of our past. Section 6. The heart of Turley's message. So, what does this all mean? At its core, this book tells us the American Revolution was more than a break with Britain. It was an experiment in how ordinary people can govern themselves without descending into chaos or submitting to a tyrant. The debate between freedom and order didn't end in the 18th century. It lives inside us today. It nudges us to see our history not as a closed chapter, but a living conversation, one that every generation gets to join. Wrap up. Takeaway for you. As we reach the end of our journey through Rage and the Republic, one thing stands out. The story of America isn't a finished monument, it's an ongoing conversation between passion and principle, rage and restraint, rights and responsibilities. If you enjoyed this summary and want to dive deeper into the rich history, vivid characters, and thought-provoking ideas Jonathan Turley explores, I warmly encourage you to grab the full book on Amazon or your favorite bookstore. It's a rewarding read for anyone curious about where we've been and where we're going. Stay tuned for another fascinating audiobook summary tomorrow. We help you discover what books are truly about before you spend a dime.